Hey everyone, welcome back to our second video of learning HTML. So last video we created this website which is pretty good, has a picture, has a header, has paragraphs, has dots, and then it takes you to an actual website. But let's do some more complex stuff. So for this class we're gonna basically make a table, we're gonna make a form, we're gonna make an email submit, and we're gonna do everything, all of that good stuff. So let's get started. The first thing first, like I said last class, you always need these two in order to work with your HTML. And HTML to basically tell every Google and all of them just to say that this is an HTML file, and then we're going to start with our head. Now in here, like last video I said, we're going to start with our title. So in this I'm going to say my web page, then I'm going to go down, and then in here let's give it some style. Okay, so now this is CSS. So what is CSS? Well, CSS is basically let's think about it this way. HTML is the bone and CSS is the art. And in order, if you want to, now most of the time you have to open a new tab, then connect your CSS to your HTML. But in here we're not doing anything crazy, so go ahead, just put style, and every time you want to put CSS inside of your basically HTML, you just put that. So now I'm just gonna say style. Now I'm gonna open my bracket, and then here I'm gonna say color blue. So in here, I'm going to give it a color of the blue. Then I'm going to come here, and every time you got to do this, then you got to close it. Now I want to give it the PowerPoint, the paragraph size. So on here, I'm going to come down here, and then let's go down. In here, I'm going to say P. Then I'm going to open the bracket again. Then down here, I'm going to give it a font size. And in here, let's give it, let's just say medium. And then here, let's go down and then close our bracket again. Now, in here, I'm gonna give it an basically highlight. So in here, I'm gonna go highlight. Then I'm gonna open the bracket. Gonna come out here, and then I'm gonna give it a background color of our highlight, and I want to give it yellow. And in here I'm gonna give it the font weight, so basically the size of our font. And then here I'll go font weight. In here I can give it anything, but I'm gonna go with bold. Come down here. Now that I'm done with that, what are we gonna do? As always, close the bracket. Now that I'm here, I'm done with my style, so I'm gonna come here and say style, close the bracket. Now let's see what that looks like. So if I go ahead and write on this is what it looks like now, but I haven't done anything. So this is basically just the head of our thing. Now let's add some body, and let's add another body. We're done with first section with our head. This was just our head. Now let's add a body. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna give it an H1. I'm gonna say welcome to my web page with a question mark. And in here I'm gonna give it a paragraph. In here I'm gonna say this is a, and then in here what you can do is actually open a span. Now I'll explain what a span is in a minute, because I have to show you guys. No matter what I say, you guys won't understand. But in here I'll say highlight. Then in here I'll close the highlight. Then in here I'll say a paragraph. Hopefully that's it. Then in here I'm gonna say of text. Then in here I will say it will be displayed on there. Now on the page, basically this is it. So in here I'm just gonna say on the page. Now what I can do is just close it here and go slash paragraph. In here let's go down and let's give it another H2. in here I'm gonna say a table of our data. Now let's just go Control S and let's just basically run this. So this is basically what it looks like right now. I give my header a blue color, and I can basically I spelled paragraph wrong, so I'm just gonna say P. I don't know how to spell paragraph, but in here I can just highlight it, and then now I'm gonna give it a table of basically our data. So in here, last class we learned about UL, but what you can do, you can use this command also. So this command is called table. If you're just making table for your HTML, you want to use it. So here I'm gonna say table, then down here I'm gonna say basically tr, then in here I'm gonna say th, and basically you need to put this. So in here I'm gonna say name. Without this it wouldn't work, without the th. And then in here I'm gonna say give it an age. So we want the name and the age, and then once I'm done with the tr, I'm gonna come here, go down. Now I want to insert basically what we did with the SQL. Now in here I'm gonna say tr again, then gonna close the bracket here, gonna come down here. Now this was th, basically the header name. Now I want to insert into it, so I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna say td, and then I'm gonna close it. Now in here I'm gonna say Mohammed, and then gonna come down here and I'm gonna say td again. Now in here I'm gonna say my age, which is 19. Gonna come down here, and now that I'm done with my data, I'm gonna basically close our table tr. Now that I'm done with our whole table, you could still add more stuff into it. So now I'm just gonna say table. Now if I come here, Control S and run it, this is basically what our table looks like. Now let's say I want to give it a bit of more stuff, so I'm gonna come here, give it this, and hopefully it should work. Okay. Now, but what you could do, you could also, let's just do this. Let's just do mo. There we go, much better. Now the reason, I'm just gonna say mo. There we go. So now if I come down here, run it, this is what it will look like. Now that I'm done with my table, let's add a form basically. So in here I'm gonna say h3, in here I'm gonna say a form for our page. Now in here I'm gonna go down. Now what I can do is just give it a label. So I'm gonna come here, and then I'm gonna say label, and then in label I'm gonna say basically for let me just delete this so you work with. Now in here I'm gonna say also I gotta open the bracket. Now in here I'm gonna say for, there we go, already comes here. Now I'm gonna say name. Now in here when it says name, I'm gonna close the bracket. Now in here I'm gonna say name, then equals, or not equals but the quote sign, and then in here I'm gonna give it an input. So here an input, and then in here I'll give it the type of input that I want, which will be text. And then once I have that, I'm gonna give it an ID. So here is an ID. Then once I have that ID, I'm gonna give that basically a name. So I'm gonna say, for example, a name, since we're dealing with name now. And in here I'm gonna give a name equals name. Now once I'm done with that, I just have to close the bracket. Now in here, let's say I want to add another one. So in here I'm gonna go br, then in here I'm gonna basically, I want to add a new section. So every time you just have to go br if you want to add a new one. In here I'm gonna go label again, then in here I'm gonna go for, then in here I'm gonna go email. This time it's going to be for our email. Then I'm going to come here, close our bracket, then I'm going to say email and with quotes. Then in here I'll come down and say, then we're going to give it our another input for our email section. So in here I'm gonna go type, and then when I'm here with my type, I'm gonna say specify that this is for our email. Then I'm gonna give this email an ID. So I'm gonna come here, say an ID. Then when I'm here, I'll specify again that this is for our email. Now the name of our email, the name, it's gonna be email again. So now once I'm done, I'm just gonna come here, close the bracket. Then let's say I want to give it a submit button right now, basically for both of these. So in here I'm gonna go bar again, then I'm gonna give it an input that you need to fill up. So I'm gonna say input, then in here I'm gonna say type. Once saying type, in here I'm gonna say submit. Then I'm gonna come here and say value, and in here I'm gonna say submit. There we go. Now here close in the bracket. Okay, so now I'm done with my form. So I'm gonna come here and say, oh, not body, but in here I'm gonna say form. Now that I'm done also with my body, because this counts as a body. So I'm gonna come here slash body. Now I'm done with my full HTML page for today. So I'm gonna come here and say HTML page. Now if I run this whole page, basically this is what we have. Now we have this welcome to page. Basically this is for our this is for basically a database, kind of what we did with our SQL. So let me just make this bigger. So what you can do is you can actually connect this to your SQL and have an actual working HTML page. So in here I'm gonna say my name is, let's say, Mohammed, and I'm gonna give it my email, momojukhari gmail.com, and here I'm gonna press submit. Now of course it doesn't work because it's not connected to anything, but you can connect it to your SQL like I said. So this is basically a form page that we could have done, and we did. And thank you for watching. This is for this video.